It is hard bringing AI to market. Just when you think you've nailed the value prop, the product evolves. So, what's a marketing team to do? Well, we don't do it alone. This is a journey that requires teammates inside the company, but also teammates outside the walls of your organization. These are people you call on, you learn from, and you build with. Now, we've created spaces where these conversations can happen with teammates across the industry. On the Unexpected Lever, our weekly podcast, available anywhere you get your podcast, we sit down with some of the sharpest minds in B2B sales. These are our teammates who share their lessons and their battle scars. We also created the Powerline community, where we connect teammates across the entire sales ecosystem, our sellers, our influencers, our leaders who want to push the future forward together. Because when we face moments of doubt or moments of aspiration, we tend to look outward. We look to teammates, people we know and trust for inspiration. And today I have the privilege of calling on some incredible teammates to join this conversation about AI and B2B sales. So AI is transforming the way sales teams do outbound, and no one's done more work with sales teams at the top of the funnel in outbound over the last 5 years than Morgan Ingram. Morgan's the founder of Amp Social, where he helps sales teams turn LinkedIn into a consistent pipeline machine. He also advises companies and is one of the most influential voices shaping how SDRs think about outbound. Morgan, what's up?
What's going on, man? It's been too long. We're here. We're back.
Given your work at Amp Social, helping teams turn LinkedIn into a machine, where do you see AI adding the most leverage for social selling without turning reps into robots?
I feel like it's already happening. I feel like there's a lot of R2D2s out there. Like if you look at your inbox, it's just like R2D2 everywhere, right? Robots all over the place. I will say that like I see AI, and I believe every single sales team when I work with them is to see it as an amplifier rather than a genie. Most people go into AI saying, "Hey, can you write me the best cold email? Can you help me close more deals?" Well, the thing is, it doesn't know that answer because it doesn't have the context to give you the right answer. And also, unfortunately, AI is just accumulation of everyone's answers, and it gives you the average of those answers, and you're going to get the average answer, which is going to help you stay average. So that's not what we want. So what we want, right, is what I coach people on is social selling, but social selling is not just LinkedIn. Social selling is just being more social. So what we want to work with clients, we focus on cold calling and also LinkedIn to generate pipeline because they have to be complementary to each other. And then now you can move from there to build that quality pipeline. You start with human touches. I believe in the rule of hundreds. So you need your reps to do something 100 times before we validate it or not. Once we now have validated that 100 touch point per rep, then we can now scale or amplify the message that works with AI. I can now go and say, hey, what messaging, based on the responses that we're getting off LinkedIn and based on the calls that we're doing, what value props are working, what's correlating with our clients? AI can break down what that is. And now we can do more of those things and continues to get better. So that's why I see AI as just a refinement, and then you shift and you go from there.
You've spoken about how cold outbound is less effective while communities and fans are more critical sources. So how can AI help teams identify where those warm sources actually are?
Yeah, so I think AI, the first thing is it's identifying where are the communities, right? I think on LinkedIn, unfortunately, it's easy to be a sales rep and think that there aren't communities in your space because all you see is sales and marketing people posting a lot. So you're like, well, there's no communities for me. There is. So I've been working with clients and actually I have a prompt, and we can share this on the back end with you so that other people can use it. Is I built a prompt that allows you to identify where are the communities and who are the thought leaders in your space. Financial space, HR, IT, it actually does not matter. I've done this with enough companies at this point. They're like, there is a lot of content out there that most people have no clue that exists. Newsletters, communities, etc. And your goal is to get in at least 3 to 5 of these. I do this with my own business. I've actually been focusing more on what are the communities I want to align with, because if I'm a familiar face, a familiar person, and people know what I do and what I'm about, it makes it easier for them to refer me to whatever they're looking for, right? And so to kind of go back into that, I think I use AI I research and identify what are the best communities for me to go engage with, and then now I can go be social. So that's actually how you use AI, is the identification process.
In your advisory roles, you're helping vendors shape the way outbound is done. Which use cases are really moving the needle and which use cases are just noise?
Mm, yeah, great point. So I what's actually working. So we're Luster. In short, for those of you who don't know what Luster is, it's an AI role play tool. So if you think about, hey, we do cold calls, we need a role play to make sure they're good. Discovery calls, role play, so they do good, right? So I think that is where it's going to be really helpful, because I remember as a manager, I had 13 SDRs. By the way, that's a lot. I wouldn't recommend having that many SDRs. I would not recommend that. But the thing is, like, I reviewed every single cold call manually. There was no AI to like review this stuff. So I would listen to every single call and review it with the reps. It worked, but like I wasn't able to role play with everybody every single day. So now if I was able to take my coaching and my voice and my tone and implement it inside of an AI, and it was able to role play without me being there, it's going to make my team better, and I can see the progress along the way. So actually that's where I think it's really helpful. And also we can look at the enablement gaps that people have, and I can be like, "Hey, go role play with this thing at home. I'm not coming home with you. So go do it. I'm not, right. We're not role playing in the dark, right? Go take this AI bot and go get better. Here are your gaps." And so now I know my team can get incrementally better without me having to manually or physically being there, right? Where I see it going wrong, and I think that you probably see this in your inbox, your CEO and your executive suite, this is where I'm actually starting to get concerned about AI, is that most people are lazy. And so now we've enabled them with more of a shortcut to be more lazy. And so where I think that where the AI is going wrong is these just AI outbound machines. Hey, if you send out these AI emails, you're going to get, it's ruining the game where people don't even want to open their emails anymore. They don't even care. And so the people who are actually doing their due diligence are being missed because everyone's ruining it right now. So I think that people just running AI automated insane campaigns and not really reading what they're writing is ruining the whole entire buyer experience, because people are getting more annoyed. And AI slop, AI automate, I'm not a huge fan of it, because I don't think people, again, are taking the human steps to actually do something that's validated and good before they do it. People automate before they have something that actually is proven as a concept to automate. And I'm not a fan of it.
Now, Morgan, as someone who works with SDRs every day, how do you help them balance their brand? This is the internal brand as well as the external one the world sees, with the assistance of AI.
Yeah, so shout out to my first boss, Lucas Uyoke. Shout out to him. And as I was creating content, he was the exactly manager that I needed. And he said, "Hey, look, it's good that you're building your external brand with content, but pay attention to your internal brand as well." And I always remembered that as I worked in organizations. Obviously, I have my own thing now, so it's obviously different. But I remembered that, yes, you could have a really good brand social, but if you're not doing the things internally and people can't vouch for you that work for you, that's a huge problem, right? That's gonna come full circle in a bad way. So let's talk about internal, then we'll go external. So internal brand is, what are you doing proactively just to help? Are you see there's a problem in the company? Are you providing ideas? Are you willing to jump in and say, "Hey, like, I see that you might be struggling here. I got some advice for you." Don't be a lone wolf in the organization being like, "Hey, I got this cool brand and I'm the greatest of all time." I never treated it that way, even early days when the things were like going crazy. I always treated everybody in the organization with respect. Yes, I obviously at the end of the day had a brand and that was helpful, but I also knew I was in the trenches as an SDR with my other reps. Like, they were doing the same thing as me. I just happened to just be posting content, and I just had a different path. And that's just what I was called to do. But you got to be tapping in. So I would email my CMO and I would ask some questions. I would talk to my VP of sales and be like, "How can I get better?" Right? I was a person that was always curious and that I was always getting better, even though I had this brand. The brand didn't like deflate me and say I'm greater. I was just like, I have this brand, it's cool, but like I still need to learn. I still need to get better. There's people around me that are actually very skilled. So I think your internal brand is like, your curiosity will never fail you. If I was internally right now, I would be the most obnoxious person, because I would just be reaching out to people all the time. Be like, "Yo, CTO, what are we doing here? CFO, why can't we buy?" I would just be me, because it's like the wealth of knowledge in your organization is important. But the only way you can articulate that and show that is by being curious and building your internal brand and being proactive in helping people, so people can vouch for you when you're out in the world and like, is this person really who they are? Now, when it comes into the external brand, This is actually where most people get it wrong, is they get on LinkedIn and they see all this creating content, you follow these gurus, whatever, and they tell you to post every single day. You don't have to do all that. I think it's actually just too noisy now, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Take it from someone who's been creating on the platform for 9 years, which is probably like, I don't know, 1% of the people that have been posting that long. And so what I'll tell you is what I've learned over time is when you start, your goal actually is counter to what everyone's going to tell you, is to not be a creator. I'm actually telling you not to create content. And you're like, wait, so how do I build a brand? Well, your goal is to be a curator, not a creator. The biggest hang up people have is, what do I say? What do I do? How are people going to perceive me? Don't even have to worry about that. Focus on what's happening in your industry and just be a reporter and a commentator. So, for example, if you are in IT, go look up a news article or a blog post on IT and then talk about what you learned from this article in the IT industry. That's going to stand out, and people are like, oh, okay, I get where this person's coming from. This makes sense. And now you can articulate that. So be a curator of the information in your space so you can post that and give your takeaway like, hey, I learned these 3 things. I learned these 2 things. And then that's how you build your brand externally, digitally.
You know, and AI should be able to help you do this. This is the force multiplier you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. Yeah, AI can do this. I also recommend, if you're not a writer, you can also give your recap in voice. So I do a lot of voice recordings, and then it shifts through AI to then give me the actual like what thing I was saying. So a lot of ways you can do it, but like that's where that plays.
So Morgan, looking forward a year from now out to 2026, what's the SDR of the future look like? What skills become less important, and what human skills really start to matter more?
Yeah, I think anything like research wise, I'm not saying it's not important, be less important, because a lot of AI will be able to do that, and that's going to save you a lot of time. So that's going to be important. I think the biggest skill is just going to be being more social and having more conversations and just being human, which is like, sounds wild, but that's what it is. And so where do I see the SR role going? I don't think everybody's going to be eliminated. I don't really inherently believe that, but I do also think that you have to be skilled, because it's just going to be harder for you to do the role. And so what my belief is that most people are just going to have like, if you've seen Iron Man, for those listening in, and like kind of Jarvis and things of that nature, like that's how I'm like envisioning all this, is that like you're going to come in and AI is going to provide all the insights for you. It's going to tell you what's going on in your accounts. You're going to be like, all right, cool. Here are my target accounts. Here's what's going on. So almost you're going to have like a heat map. And then from there, you're going to be like, this is what now I need to go do and take actions on, and be creative and be innovative there. And I think a lot of the SDRs will be segmented. They'll be verticalized. There'll be more specializations, because context is going to be more important. And that's where the SDR role is going to go. So I don't think it's going away. I think it's just going to be more granular and more like, hey, concise in what you're going to do.
Thank you, Morgan. Great stuff. Really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
You heard him. Getting the meetings, one piece of it, but we think it's how you drive that relationship forward that also matters. So let's see how Ava is helping our rep do that right now.